What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Blue Line Patriot. Today we're going to be talking about the Hellcat Pro. This just completed 300 rounds today. In total, it has fired 1,100 rounds, 1,100, maybe even 1,200, but I'm not sure. But I'll definitely say, without a doubt, definitely 1,100 rounds. And this is how we're looking. I'm going to try and get it as focused as I possibly can, just to show you guys kind of what we're looking at after 1,100 rounds. But yeah, I am sold. I'm moving forward with this 1,000%. I've learned some things about it as well that I'll talk about. But yeah, it's fresh, dirty, literally just back from the range. I didn't clean it this time, so let's get into it. So, along the way, I've been covering the Hellcat Pro in pretty decent detail. I've had, well, plenty of videos out on it so far. I think I did 250, 500, 750, and now 1,000, but it's really 1,100. But yeah, so we'll call it 1,000. The ammunition today that we fired was MagTech 115 grain, full metal jacket. All of these are full metal jacket, but MagTech 115 grain, 50 rounds. WPA 115 grain full metal jacket, 100 rounds. American Eagle 124 grain, full metal jacket, 50 rounds. Remington Arms Company, you see in the brown box there, is 115 grain full metal jacket. And that was 200 rounds, but today I just, for the hell of it, wanted to throw in some more 124 grain, so I threw in some Arms Corps 124 grain 50 rounds. So that brought us up to 300 today. It was going to be 250, but screw it, we bumped it up to 300. So that brings us up to like 1,050, and the other 50 are just random rounds that I just threw through it for the hell of it. A lot of it out of my M&P magazines and other stuff, because I was testing out that federal defense ammo. I've been trying that out through this, and I had to have fired at least 60 or 70 rounds of that through it. So that'll bring us up easily to 1,100 rounds, more than 11, probably 1,200, but we'll stick with 1,100. Anyway, so that's the ammo that we put through it today. Zero issues with anything. Zero issues with anything. Now, I'm not a show clear and safe type of guy, but I'm doing this specifically just to show you the one thing up front that I changed my mind about. That trigger. If you've been following the series, you're probably on the seat of your pants. So, I will maintain my statement saying that this trigger is a professional concealed carry trigger. It's freaking, for that, it's great. You're still going to be able to squeeze the trigger, fire off a round when you need to squeeze a trigger and fire off a round. It is not hard. And in full disclosure, because of what I've heard on the internet about this trigger being hard to squeeze, I have literally had at least 2 dreams where I pull this exact gun from my holster in a defensive situation, and I cannot squeeze the trigger because my mind is so fucked with people saying that it's a heavy trigger. It's getting on my subconscious so much that I'm having dreams about not being able to shoot this gun in a defensive situation. So, like I said, full disclosure, I gotta say that. But having said that, I will say that this trigger is still good enough to do the job it needs to do. It's a very good defensive trigger. The reason why is because when you squeeze the trigger, you have that take-up. It's standard take-up that you have. You just have that random take-up. Every gun has that. Some more or less, but every gun has that. The break on this gun is something that you have to squeeze through consciously. You might not be able to see my finger moving there, but it's moving through that break, like, super consciously. and then it breaks, and bam. So the entire time going through my trigger squeeze, I'm maintaining control whether I want to send that round or not, which is very nice. Because if I have it pulled, say, this much, and I wanted to stop that, I could do that. But I don't have that option with a trigger that's going to break right away. But also, why would you be squeezing the trigger if you didn't intend to fire a round in order to stop the threat? You know what I'm saying? So, like, I get all that. But what I'm just saying is sometimes milliseconds counts, and especially when it comes to legal things. And that's why I say this is a professional concealed carry person's trigger, because everything about this trigger is deliberate. I'm calling it a deliberate trigger since day one. So, the ammunition that I've been using with the Hellcat Pro all this time has been Hornady XTP 115 grains. So I will say this ammo has never given me any issues at all, but it does have weird features about it that I do not like, and it's that their shells, their casings, you could, let me put them in my hands right here. You could probably see that their casings, almost all of them, deform. You see, right there, right there. These are just two. Here, I'll get two more. Here's two more, just for the case of it. You see the cases are deforming around there. Like, that personally, I don't know if that's a bullet design. They look too ununiform to be by design. I feel like that's a quality issue, and I'm not crazy about this type of ammo because of that alone. I'm strongly considering, matter of fact, the next couple boxes I buy of defensive ammo are going to be Federal HSTs 115 grain, because I've just had the best luck with them all, and I don't want to put the heavy shit through this gun, because the heavy stuff, I will say, you definitely feel a recoil. It's not unmanageable, but 115 grain is definitely more comfortable. So again, 1,100 rounds out of this gun here. Through it, I mean, you just go back in the other videos to see exactly what I put through it, because everything I put through it, I put in a video. But I do know I fired a lot of MagTech through it. Maybe 400 rounds. I fired maybe 400 rounds of WBP 115 grain full metal jacket. I fired maybe 100 rounds. Maybe 100 rounds of the brown box stuff. I'm trying to think of what else. I found some random Hornady critical defense and critical carry. The difference between those two are duty guns. So critical duty is for your duty gun. Critical carry is for your carry gun. But anyway, both of them always giving me problems, so I don't buy that ammo anymore. So, out of the Hellcat Pro, I had two jams. One was basically, actually, I want to say I had the same, I think I had the same jam twice, very similar. So that one jam that I had the last time that I showed you, I'll try and get a picture of it and pull it up for you. So, I think I had that jam twice. And one time, I'm not 100% sure because I did not grab the actual round itself, or the shell itself when it came out. It just sucks. I didn't get that, so I couldn't show you exactly what round it was. But I'm pretty sure it was the brown box stuff. So I had one of those stovepipes. Well, it's not even a stovepipe. I don't know what to call it. But I had one of those malfunctions. I had another double feed, failure to feed, something like that. But I had two of them with the critical defense. Every time I checked, it was the critical. It was the Hornady critical something or other. Out of 1,100 rounds that this gun has fired, it only had 3 malfunctions. So that's not bad. And to be honest with you, 2 of them were old, and I mean years old, critical defense or critical duty. I think I had a little bit of both. But I will say those rounds were very old. They might have been chambered a couple of times, I'm not sure. So to have issues with them, first of all, to have issues with them, period, did not surprise me. But I did have issues with them. The other round, that random other round, I don't know, like I said, I think that was the brown box, but I'm not sure. That was the only, but everything else ran through just fine. I had no defense ammo jam up on me, except for that critical, except for that other Hornady stuff. But any of my actual carry ammo, haven't had any issues with. The accuracy seems very consistent. Now, even with this gun is more accurate than I can be. But I will say, I know I skimmed by the trigger before I got kind of derailed. But I will say, the one thing I'll say about the trigger is, if you've been following this channel, I feel differently about the trigger now. This feels like a big, prickly, like pineapple now. Because I've been carrying that for months. 3 months. Basically 3 months. I haven't really picked this up or did anything with it yet. And basically, like, at least 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. And now that I hold it, I'm thinking, like, man, this grip is so fat and prickly, and it just feels like I'm holding, like, just too much gun. This gun's just too big now after being used to the Hellcat Pro. The Hellcat Pro just feels right. It's like a fighting gun. And then when I pick this up, I'm like, ugh. Like, yeah, I still have a good grip on it and whatnot, but, like, as I'm holding it, I'm thinking, ugh. Like, I'm not a fan anymore. But, clear and safe. Clear, safe, clean. When I squeeze this trigger, I immediately realize that I was completely wrong about this trigger the whole time. I was right and I was wrong. I was wrong in the sense where I kept saying that it feels just about the same as a... feels just about the same as a Hellcat, or I'm sorry, an M&P. No, it does not. It's a completely different trigger. But I don't mean that in a bad way. And when I say, oh, it feels just like an M&P, and it feels just like a Glock. No, it does not. I feel like these triggers are more useful. Useful, I think, might be the term. But this trigger is still a great trigger. I mean, if you train with this trigger, you're going to be just fine. But the problem is switching around from platform to platform. And say I'm used to my M&P, and I'm shooting, you know, 1,000 rounds a month with my M&P. And then I pick this up, and I try to go do work with it. Or same thing with a Glock, and try and go do work with it. I'm going to need some practice, you know. So yeah, it's kind of like that. But I'm very used to this, and I feel like because I could shoot this very well, I could shoot that very well, and I could shoot that extremely well. So I don't know. I don't want to. See, I'm still playing with the trigger, and I just can't figure it out. I mean, I like it. I think it's a great trigger for what it is. You just have to train with it. But after 1,100 rounds, I will say that there are better triggers than the Hellcat Pro. Took me 10 minutes to say that, basically. So will I consider changing the trigger out of the Hellcat? I don't know. I might just want a lighter spring so that I have the same exact trigger, but I have the same exact trigger, but I have a different like a different break. Like maybe it breaks a little lighter, but it's not a hard trigger at all. I mean, it's a very easy trigger. You know, I do pretty damn well with it. So after 1,000 rounds, all that ammo shot off. Yeah, the Hellcat Pro, I do highly recommend it. I may perhaps recommend that you change the trigger if you're used to M&P and Glock and don't want to put the time in on this to learn the trigger. Then yes, I can understand why somebody might want to get a different trigger for it. I won't even call it an upgrade. But I was actually looking at those Apex triggers to see if I can get the spring that goes in the sear and just put that in so that I can keep my actual trigger and everything else, except it just breaks easier. That would have been nice. That would be pretty freaking sweet, because the trigger itself is nice and flat. Like when you push the shoe horn down, or I always call it a shoe horn. Trigger horn, trigger shoe, there we go, trigger shoe. When you press this down, you have a really flat trigger. So that's nice too. People don't talk about that enough. Everybody wants to bash the trigger. The trigger's not bad. Like if you had the trigger and you could not change the trigger out on this gun, you'd be fine. I may or may not consider lightening that a little bit, but 1100 rounds, Hellcat Pro, highly recommended. If you're thinking of it as a defense gun, defensive pistol, I recommend it personally. And again, I love the wear. I love when it's dirty. I love when it gets, you know, worn out, when it gets scratched up. Because again, guys, I say it in all my videos, especially when I talk about the Hellcat. If your gun doesn't have wear on it, if it looks shiny brand new, I know that you don't train with that gun at all. I know that because you don't train with that gun at all, you're not very proficient with it. So it's like, I know that you're not very proficient with the weapon you have, you know? So it's like, and I respect when I see guns that are worn out, and maybe they're old, or they're worn out, or, you know, they have like character on them. And, you know, when I see that, I'm like, oh, obviously this dude has had some, unless he bought it pre-owned, but this dude's got some, you know, skill with this gun, and that's good, because if shit kicks off, I know he's not a fucking, you know, just some dude playing around, you know. He actually goes to the range, he actually trains, he actually shoots, you know, and even if he hasn't shot in a long time, at least he has that background. Alright guys, so that's all we have today for you. Hope you enjoyed the video, hope you enjoyed the series. I don't think I'm going to be covering much more of the Hellcat moving forward. I might cover a little bit more of this holster once I do a little bit of work to it. Otherwise, that's pretty much it. What I am trying to do next is a little series on my Ruger 1022. Now, I named this one Paco, and basically because it was my zombie apocalypse gun. I was very big into The Walking Dead at the time. This is a purpose-built zombie apocalypse gun, so I'm going to talk more about it, what kind of mags, what sort of accessories, what sort of plans I have with this, and where we're going, and we'll do, I don't know, maybe we'll do 1,000 rounds. We'll do a 1,000 round breakdown of the Ruger 1022 Paco. But yeah, so there's a lot to talk about on this one. a lot of parts, a lot of theories. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe so you can see what's coming up off of this. I did write a letter to a company that provides barrels. I'm waiting to see, because I do plan on changing this barrel out for one with a threaded barrel, because this is not a threaded barrel. So I'm going to see if I can't get a new barrel cheaper, or maybe even free. I don't know, we'll see. I have a tiny channel, we don't know. But anyway, that's what's coming up. So yeah, there's some goodies in our near future. Anyway guys, I'll talk to you all later. Blue Line Patriot, signing out. Thanks for watching, guys. Before you go, I want to let you know about my 2 stores. The links are in the description below. If you like tactical, survival, anti-woke stuff, this is the place for you. I have lots of t-shirts, hoodies, stickers, paracord wristbands, and keychains that make for great gifts or your own personal gear. Look cool, or just troll the soy boys with Blue Line Patriot swag. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to stay up to date with my content. But above all, stay safe, stay smart. Blue Line Patriot, out.